last night of open practice. No more open practice. The autographers have been a big reason we got to cancel it. Cell phones with video, pictures, all that kind of stuff. Can't do it anymore. Love to do it for those people that like to watch practice. And I've always been one to open up spring ball and preseason, most of preseason anyway. But it's a different day. You know, the autographers are lined up out there. Poor Jadavion can't even hardly get out on the field without getting somebody mad at him. So we just have to eliminate open practices, and we have to get some security guys out there, make sure our guys can get in and out of practice without having to, you know, sign autographs all the way up and down the field. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. Tonight's the last open practice. But other than that, we've only had 2 practices, and been sort of sloppy, been about what you expect, I guess. We try to allow all the players on the team to participate. So obviously these freshmen and new players don't know much what's happening, but they're out there trying, and so it's been pretty good practice as far as effort, but as far as knowing what to do, we're way behind and so forth. But hopefully we can get better as we go through the preseason here. But other than that, let's see. I don't think anybody's, well, actually we had an injury last night. Cody Gibson was blocking, and one of the freshmen and, another freshman, they kept playing sort of after the whistle and fell into the back of his leg. So we're trying to slow down some of these freshmen that are trying to show the coach that they can play full speed all the way through. And they sort of tumbled around and fell in the back of his leg. Hopefully it'll be all right in a couple of weeks, but it was an injury that should not happen in practice. You shouldn't fall in the back of people's legs. But we had that happen last night. Okay, other than that, everybody's pretty much on pace, and everybody's raring to go. We just got a lot of coaching to do before the first game. Okay, any questions?
All right, if you will, please raise your hand for the mic, and since we do have a lot of new faces here today, if you will for today, just state your name and your affiliation. We'll start up front. Mr. Bennett.
Yes, Steve, when you look at the combination of the talent you have returning, the way the schedule sets up, I know there are a lot of other variables, but is this perhaps you guys' best opportunity for a championship since you've been here?
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? As far as not playing the top 3 from the other side, who knows if they're going to be the top 3? Heck, maybe Auburn, Mississippi State, or one of those teams jumps up and becomes one of the top teams. Last year, Arkansas was supposed to be one of the top teams, and they went south, and then Texas A&M jumped up there. But Georgia has a tougher schedule. Georgia's got to play LSU this year. So if they've got a tougher schedule that helps us out by a game, we'll find out. They may not matter, or it could matter the way it did 2 years ago. But again, you can't worry about that except just try to play them one at a time. We're worried about North Carolina. That's our next opponent. And we'll start gearing in on those guys 10, 12 days before the first game.
Steve, Dave Cloninger with the state. Just looking at the wide receiver group, how confident are you that guys, that, even though they're not the tallest, like Jones and Bird and those guys in Ellington, they could go out and really make an impact? And basically, you won 11 games last year with those kind of short and quick receivers.
And we got some height. We got Quentin Smith, Shaq Rowland. He can jump out of the gym when he's playing basketball. So they're not all short guys, just a few of them. Nicky Jones, Bruce, not too tall. But both our tight ends have good height. Jarrell Adams is about 6'5", and Buster Anderson's is 6'3" or so. So we've got some tall guys, and we need to get it up in the air a little bit. But I think the receivers are going to be all right. They just haven't had a chance to play much, some of the guys, but I think they'll be okay.
Dan Wolken with USA Today. Hey, Coach. You mentioned Jadavion can't get out to practice without getting people mad at him. How would you compare sort of the frenzy around him to, maybe Danny Warfel in his Heisman year or other great players that you've had?
Yeah, I was telling one of the ESPN guys just a few minutes ago, he had 15 questions about Jadavion. And I answered a couple of them, and I said, we've talked about Jadeveon for 7 months after that hit. He and Johnny Football, they're the only two guys in America everybody's talked about, it seems like. Jadeveon's hit and Johnny's adventures all over the country. And it's time to, and I think Jadeveon's tired of everybody talking about him, and he's ready for team, and hopefully what our team can achieve this coming year. But obviously he's ready to go. He's had a good summer, and we all know he's a super player. And but it's a team sport. I started thinking the other day, we've all heard of the Los Angeles Rams, the fearsome foursome. We all heard of them. How many Super Bowls they win? Anybody? Never did win one. They had the best defense, best defensive line ever put together. So it's a team sport. Football is an ultimate team sport. It takes a lot of guys, and Jadeveon's going to do his part, but the rest of us, we got to do our part too. So I think it's time now we all start talking a little bit more team, and I think Jadeveon will agree with that, certainly.
Brett Sinkafans, Independent. Steve, you've gone in the last 3 seasons with Marcus Lattimore, #1 workhorse type back. Now you've got 2 guys. What is your philosophy on splitting carries with guys, or what are the advantages to be able to do that?
Yeah, we've had teams where both the backs were very good, and again, we'll see how it plays out this year. Mike Davis had some good runs last year, and so did Brandon the year before. And they're both ready to go. Whoever's making the most yards will play more than the other one. Pretty simple. They'll both play early in the season and go from there. David Williams and Jamari Smith, 2 true freshmen here, are guys that can really go too. So we're in good shape at running back right now. Pretty good shape for this year.
Hey, Coach, Brian King at Greenwood today up in Greenwood. You mentioned all the hype that Davian Clowney gets. Can you talk a little bit about Kelsey Quarles and how he fits into the defense?
Yeah, Kelsey's he's done fine. Kelsey, defensive tackle. We're really hoping he has a big year inside there. So he's Chaz Sutton is another player that is going to have some opportunities to really contribute. And all those guys are flying around. They look pretty good out there the first 2 nights. But yeah, Kelsey Quarles got a chance to be a big time player, and he's been a good player. Got a chance to be even bigger as we go through the year. He's a little bit like Warren Sapp. I looked at him out there the other day. Has just a little bit of a belly, not a big one, but just enough, sort of like Warren Sapp. Didn't slow down Warren Sapp, that's for sure. Everybody's built a little differently. But Kelsey can go. Yeah, he can go and move, and he's ready for a big year.
Steve, Kent Bev, the Washington Post. Sorry to pile on the Clowney questions, but what's the most amazing thing that you've seen?
Yeah, you're asking too many. Well, I've been answering that all summer, and he's tired of it, and I think I'm tired of it. And we're just trying to get more into team stuff.
Fair enough. Have you begun film study for North Carolina? And if so, what have you seen from James?
Okay, they've, I've just been sort of watching their defense, and Coach Ward and the defensive coaches watch their offense. But obviously, they set all kind of school records on offense last year. All kind of, I think, scoring, yards, all kind of stuff. So they got the quick pace, up-tempo offense, a little bit like Clemson uses, I guess. Fast as they can go. So our crowd's going to need to be ready. Our crowd noise is going to be there. I got a feeling our fans are going to be pumped for this one, just like the Georgia game or Clemson game or whoever, because this is a big rival. Years back, North Carolina, South Carolina, when both were in the ACC, was a huge rival game. So I think our fans will teach our younger fans that this is a very important game for us.
Chris Stanley, Garnett Report. A lot of people talk about how good the defensive line is, but a lot of attention gets straight away from the linebacking and secondary cores, especially the linebacking core with how young and shallow the depth is. Do you see any players right now coming up and stepping up and being leaders in that core to help out?
Yeah, I think Cedric Cooper is ready to really contribute. got hurt at the end of last year, just played special team most of the year, but he's had an excellent summer lifting and getting his knee ready. So he's ready to contribute. Jordan Diggs, another second-year player. They could come in there and play a bunch. And some of these freshman guys, Jonathan Walton, Sky Moore, some of these guys are flying around pretty good out there. So I'm not sure who all is going to be those linebackers, but Cedric Cooper and Kewan Lewis. I forgot Kewan. He's ready to have a big year, I think, also. Yeah, we got a lot of good players at linebacker. They just haven't quite had their chance to do it yet.
Hey, Steve. Pete Yacovelli at AP. You're entering your 9th year here in South Carolina. Did you think when you took the job you'd be here this long, or even earlier in your career, you think you'd still be coaching at this point in your life?
Well, I thought it would take 9 to win those 64 games. I mean, I didn't say I hope to be the winningest coach about staying here 5 years. I think I could win 13 a year or something like that. Now, it took a while. Obviously, last 2 years, and the last 3 years, we've been able to win 31. So that's the reason we were able to get over the 64, the school record. But other than that, yeah, you go like 4 or 5 years at a time, and I don't feel much differently than I did 8 years ago. I don't think. My back's a little stiffer. That's the only thing. But other than that, hopefully my mind's still okay, and I know I still do the treadmill as much or more than I used to. So other than that, health-wise, I feel pretty good, and we got a good team. We got good players. I mean, if it was going south on us, no, I wouldn't want to be around a team that needs rebuilding or needs something different. But anytime a football program starts going south, you have to get a new coach. We all know that, and hopefully I will leave before it goes south. That's what I'm certainly hoping. So the key is let's don't go south, right, Charlie? That's the key. Yeah.
Steve, Andrew Miller from the Post and Courier down in Charleston. You touched briefly on the running back, specifically about Brandon Wiles and his maturation from his freshman year to this year.
Yeah, well, Brandon didn't play much last year at all, and I think he played one game or no, he didn't play at all. We held him out. Yeah, we were able to. Kenny Miles had to go in and make a carry up there at Clemson with his knee sprained a little bit. It wasn't that bad. But Brandon's got 3 more years. So yeah, we were able to hold him out the complete year. Sean Carson's the one that we played briefly in the bowl game because he was redshirted his first year. So Sean's ready to go too. He's healthy, and we got to get him the ball some. I think, was the best back in the state 3 years ago, and he's just sort of been hit by the injury bug the first 2 years. So we'll see how he can do also. So we got several running backs ready to go.
Coach Spurrier, Richie Altman, Southern Sports Central. You see every day when you open the newspaper, somebody's getting in trouble all across the country. You've done a great job this season keeping the kids out of trouble, keeping them in the weight rooms. What are you telling these guys? And it looks like a very, very special group coming into this year, getting ready.
Well, I don't know if it's so much what we tell them as coaches. We certainly have our rules that, and we've had to dismiss some players, and we try to do it quietly when we have to, and the other players get the message. But most of the way our guys behave is a credit to the seniors and the other guys who've been here. You know, the Marcus Lattimores, Connor Shaw, Bruce Ellington. I mean, all these guys. They show the younger guys, here's how we do it here in South Carolina. And if you don't, you may not be with us very long. So we've got pretty good guys that know what to do. Simple as that. And if we have to dismiss one every now and then, hopefully he won't be a real great player.
Steve, Josh, do you, looking at your team beyond Jadavion, there's not a lot of name recognition. All SEC
right.
teams that come out, you don't have a lot of guys on that. How do you feel about the talent of this group, top to bottom?
Yeah, I told our team the other day, I said, I've been watching looking at some of these preseason magazines, and the only group, they got running backs, receivers, quarterbacks. Defensive line is the only group that's top 10 in the country, and that's because of Jadeveon, pretty much. So we're not known as any superstars around here. So we got to earn our way, and we got to win a bunch of close games. And we got to really be ready to play. We got to play a little bit better than people think we are. So. Yeah, it is interesting. You'd think, well, they got some good receivers, or running backs, or something to be number 7 in the country, but maybe they just think Clowney is the star player, and everybody else is, not quite to his level. But they are good players here, but for some reason haven't got the publicity yet.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
Dick Cox with Cox Sports Broadcasting, back on the back here.
Okay.
You've got 2 very talented quarterbacks. Can you talk about them and how you plan to use them going into the season?
We plan on using both of them, but Connor's the starter, and it's his game to go every time. If we think there's a place for Dylan to go in there, he may go in there. But we're going with Connor as our starter. And of course, he's 17-3, winning as quarterback percentage-wise in the history of the school. So we have excellent confidence in him. And he's actually throwing the ball, I think, a little bit better. He's healthier now than he's been just about all last season. He got that knee in the back first game at Vandy. So he's ready to go. And Dylan's much better too. They're both ready to go.
Connor has mentioned his arm feels better than it has since his freshman year. What do you think about his arm and his arm strength in general? And does it feel fresher, look fresher to you?
Yeah, he has plenty of arm strength, and surgery on his foot has really helped too. As we all know, quarterbacks, their feet are so important. You got to transfer the weight right side to left side. Quick feet goes with quick throws. So like he said, he's healthy and his body feels good. So he's getting a little bit more zip on the ball also.
Yeah, Steve, can you talk a bit about Vic Hamilton from the standpoint of his progression, not only as a player since he's been here, but as a person, his maturity level since he's been here?
Yeah, he's done very well. He's come around. He's had his moments years back and so forth, and but he's come around, and he's a good teammate. He's a good teammate now. And hopefully that will go all the way till he leaves here, and hopefully he's going to get a chance to play some pro football.
Coach Ron Aiken, Gamecock Central. You used to have a little bit of a 2-back set, right? Is that something you think you'll work into the mix this season?
Yeah, we'll use a little bit of 2-back. 2-back, 1-back, no back. Not much 3-back, but all the others. 2 tight ends and so forth. But yeah, our fullbacks are not too well known, and I think all of them are walk-ons, aren't they? Connor McLaren, Gist. What's Gist's first name? Garrison Gist. And Diaz. Yeah, Diaz. What's his first name? Jordan Diaz, yeah. Everybody calls him Diaz. One of the guys nicknamed him Cameron the other day, so everybody's calling him Cameron Diaz. But they're pretty good fullbacks. They're not bad. They'll go in there and hit those linebackers, so they're doing well.
Steve, Tommy Tomlinson from Sports on Earth. This team has gotten pretty close to championship level the last couple of years. I was wondering what you think the differences are between these teams and the Florida teams you had that got there, and what does it take to sort of get over that hump?
Oh, well, there's a lot of difference. Some of those Florida teams would win by a bunch of points. They were. But our teams have learned to win the close ones the last 2 years. Most of the close ones, anyway. We've lost a few, but we certainly won our share last year and a few even the year before. But that's what we're going to need to do is because we're not probably going to blow out too many people. But we can play we believe we can play with everybody on the schedule, and Obviously, 2 losses wasn't good enough even to get into the SEC game. We've been 6-2 in conference play and beaten the team that won the East the last 2 years, and it wasn't good enough. So we got to try to avoid that one of those 2 losses. That's what we got to try to do. Usually, maybe 7-1 will get you in the championship game and go from there.
Middle of the room.
Avery Wilkes, Gamecock Central. Steve, you have 2 talented pass catching tight ends, and Terrell Adams and Lester Anderson. How important will they be if you don't have a big target wideout to emerge?
Well, they're going to be important if we had a big one or not, because they're good players and they work the inside lanes and this, that, and the other. So they'll have plenty of opportunities as well the wide receiver guys. Yeah, they're all going to get some chances.
John Whittle from BigSquare.com. Can you talk about where you think losing Ace will have a greater effect on offense or special teams, and you confident?
Well, punt return. Right now we got about 4 or 5 guys back there catching them. Victor Hampton will most likely be the first guy back there, but he hasn't done it much in college. And we got some other guys back there. Shaq Rowland, I think he only dropped about 3 last night out of 6. And Sean Carson dropped a couple. But they'll get better. They'll get better at it. But we don't have a proven punt returner right now. I think Bruce Ellington, he's back there also. He's kickoff return also. And Demir Bird, he's kickoff return guy also. But punt return, yeah, we got to concentrate on catching the ball. All those guys, we're not as good as we need to be right now. So obviously, whoever's back there is probably going to be the guy who can catch it. Is the most likely to catch it just about every time.
Steve, how much did you know about Kane Whitehurst when you guys brought him on the team, and what do you think of him now in terms of being able to help you?
Didn't know much at all until after he was out there running around one day, and then we checked into his history and found out where he came from. I guess Jamie Sapronis knew more about him than we did, but he's done well. Kane has done well here. He had a little issue at Arkansas and left their program, and he walked on here and so forth. He was a scholarship player at Arkansas, and like a lot of college kids, you know, sometimes something happens and it's time to move on. So he's been a model student athlete since he's been here, and there's a chance he can help us. Kane Whitehurst.
Did you guys
Good chance.
did y'all invite him, or did he just show up?
He showed up. He showed up, and he was a free one. Yeah, he's a walk-on kid from the Atlanta area, and came over and showed up. He ran. What did he run? He ran 4.4 something. He's a fast wide receiver.
Steve Shaq Rowland, you've mentioned him a couple of times. He came in with a big reputation out of high school. Talk about him from last year to this year. Has he improved, and will be more part of your offense?
Yeah, I think so. I think Shaq is much improved. He was running around all night full go. And Shamir Jeffrey, most of you guys won't even recognize him. He lost, I think, 30 pounds from last year, from about 220 to 190, something like that. So he's a wide receiver that wants to play now. So it's pretty neat to see those guys flying around, and a lot of competition out there, a lot of competition. So that makes them all better.
Good time for 2 more.
Steve, do you have any available scholarships to give any walk-ons, specifically Sidney Rhodes?
Possibly. We have possibly a couple we could give this year. Yeah, so we'll see how preseason practice goes, and we'll try to award them to the ones most deserving.
Anyone else? All right.
Okay.
Players and assistant coaches will be available up in the Cruise Building, 2nd floor. It's at the team meeting room.